Now let's start the second set, inshallah. It starts off with the Taifs again, now being the fifth step, as you can see here, which we saw on the first set, which was the second step there. In other words, Taif was to seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected. That is why I put it back into Rukwaz here. The mention of Taif is in Surah 7, verse 200 to 201, which verse 201 is underlined because Taif is said there if you forgot. And Surah 16, verse 98 says, to seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected, just like in Surah 7, verse 200, as you start reading the Quran. And Surah 68, verse 19 is God that comes and removes Satan around you. Since 1698 permits you to read the Quran again, that brings us to the next step, qa'imin, meaning standings. The sixth step. The obvious logic here is to stand, which means that you come back into the standing position and that you seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected, while you should still be devoted, as this replaces the akifs, and you are ready to recite the Quran, inshallah. The question is, what should you recite? We saw earlier that God tells us to seek help and patience in the first set in Surah 2, verse 45. And it also says that in the same surah, verse 153, but the end of this verse is different, as it says, and seek help through patience and the contact prayer, Salat. God is indeed with the patient ones. As you can see, it's repeated a second time in the whole Quran for the second set. Now we saw how to seek help and patience, which help connected to Surah 1, verse 5, and thus to read this surah, Al-Fatiha, which is right here next to where it says to seek help and patience. And the only other place in the Quran where one seeks patience is here, Surah 7, verse 126, as it similarly says to what King Talut's small army said when they faced Goliath, as we saw earlier in Surah 2, verse 250 here. This, however, is where the magicians fell prostrate after seeing the clear signs of God through Prophet Moses, and Pharaoh was going to kill them with a terrible punishment, and they said, and you are not taking revenge on us except that we have believed in the signs of our Lord when they came to us. Our Lord, pour upon us patience and let us die as submitters. Therefore, those were the minimum requirements for the sixth step, which you can add another surah or part of a surah like Rabbana, Dua, our Lord prayer, which I put here, Surah 9, verse 99, and also Surah 46:15. This is what you should say when you reach maturity and before the age of 40. I also put Surah 27, verse 19, for those who are 40 and over. However, there is a hidden richness of knowledge in this sixth step. The Arabic word standings, qa'imin, the triliteral root qaf, waw, mim, occurs 660 times in the Quran, which there are other words that occur much more than this. However, this has 22 derived forms, making this word very wealthy in knowledge. Here you have all 22 derived forms with all the 660 times they occur. We are not going to go through all 22 derived forms, but after analyzing them, you will notice that the 22 derived forms connect to 80 of the 114 surahs, which are these surahs: Surah 1 to 55, Surah 57 to 63, Surah 65 to 75, Surah 78 to 79, Surah 81, Surah 83, Surah 95, and Surah 98 respectively. Therefore, there are 34 surahs that this one word does not connect to. They are the following: Surah 56, Surah 64, Surah 76 to 77, Surah 80, 82, 84 to 94, Surah 96 to 97, 99 to 114. Thus, this one word alone also connects with 59 among the 99 occurrences of the word Salat, contact prayer, in the same surah and the same verse of the Salat. The remaining 40 surahs that the root word of qa'imin, standings, which does not connect with the same surah and the same verse number of the word Salat, contact prayer, are the following. So these are the remaining 40 surahs that do not connect with the 99 contact prayer verses. All the verses that you see here in gray are among the 99 occurrences of the word Salat in the Quran. The ones with the asterisks on the right and on the left are the ones that connect with the word qa'imin, standings, in the second set, the sixth step. And it's important to note that qa'imin, standings, here in Surah 22 verse 26 is directly connected to the first set, Surah 2 verse 125, with the first step, the Maqami Ibrahim, Abraham's standing position, which is among one of the 22 derived forms right here. Thus step 1 and 6 are linked. What's very fascinating is that in Surah 1 verse 6, which says, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم, guide us in the straight path. Mustaqim, straight, is also directly connected to the word qa'imin, standings, which is also among one of the 22 derived forms. The simplest mathematical format to write this surah and its verse with its total letters is as follows. Surah 1, verse 6, which has 18 Arabic letters, or like this, 1, 6, 18. These are the numbers of the golden ratio. Another reason why this Surah 1, Al-Fatiha, should be read even though Surah 2 verse 153 says to seek help, and Al-Fatiha is the only surah that does that, as we saw in the first set, which connects with Surah 1 verse 5, and now also Surah 1 verse 6, with the word qa'imin. We'll see more about this golden ratio verse on page 8, for the full details from the Quran alone, inshallah. Therefore, after we seek help, Surah 1 verse 5, Al-Fatiha, in yellow here, and then seek patience again, that's in green here, which was explained in the first set that there are only 2 verses, therefore I put this one here due to chronological order of surah. This completes the 6th step, qa'imin, the standings.